There is risk associated with all investment vehicles, whether it be property, shares, superannuation, businesses, cryptocurrencies, etc. You need to do your own research and due diligence and start researching the investing landscape. The more knowledge you acquire, the less likely you are to make mistakes, which is why I've created this YouTube educational channel. There is a lot to know and a lot of steps to follow, so hopefully this channel should help you to steer in the right direction. Additionally, you should hire professionals like finance brokers, financial strategists, accountants, buyer's agents, solicitors, and financial advisors to ensure that you are doing everything correctly. Mistakes in real estate tend to be costly, so please take the time to do your research or employ professionals to guide you. I suggest surrounding yourself with a good team of advisors like a finance strategist, an accountant, a broker, a solicitor, and a buyer's agent. Working together as a team, you are much less likely to make large mistakes, which can set you back decades. There is too much for one person to be able to learn and specialize in, so it just makes sense to surround yourself with clever people who will keep you on track. You definitely do not want to be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with educated individuals who can help you on your journey. For some people, the idea of building up a portfolio of investment properties may seem something that does not appeal to you. If that is the case, please just aim to purchase your first investment property before you turn 21, and then proceed to pay off the mortgage as quickly as possible to minimize the amount of interest that you are paying back to the bank. For the average person, this should be achievable within 15 years if you make your repayments on a weekly basis. You'll then be free to invest your savings moving forward any way that you choose, or not invest at all if that is your desire. The purpose of this video is to let you know that there are options available to you, which unfortunately are not commonly taught in school. It is important that when the time comes for you to apply for your loan to purchase your first property, that you have not done anything silly like taking out an expensive, unaffordable car loan or a short-term loan using one of the take-home pay later schemes. You should avoid obtaining a credit card, as these type of loans can and will affect your ability to secure finance. Instead, obtain a debit card from your bank, which will allow you to only purchase goods with funds that you have in your bank account. Taking out a HEX loan falls into this category as well, because this debt will need to be paid off sometime in the future and will be taken into consideration when you are being assessed for affordability for a housing loan application. There are plenty of people who have had their finance application rejected because they still have an unpaid HEX debt which has been following them around for years. You really have to think carefully about attending university and taking on a massive HEX debt, as it impacts your ability to borrow money moving forward, and it will restrict your ability to accumulate and build up your investment property portfolio and become a strategic property investor. Once you have secured your first property, you should continue to save towards your second property. If you have bought the right type of property in the right area and in the right part of the property cycle, your investment property should have increased in value sufficiently over the next 12 months for you to be able to borrow against the equity in the property and put that money towards the required deposit along with your savings for your next property purchase. Buying your fourth property. By the time you have secured your third investment property, it is probable that you will no longer need to continue to save your own money to put towards the purchasing of the fourth property. If you have bought the right types of properties in the right areas, they should be increasing in value every year. The strategy of borrowing against the equity of each property once it has increased sufficiently for you to be able to do so should take no more than 12 to 24 months. But you could allow 3 years for this to happen if you wanted to be conservative. As long as you have purchased quality cash flow positive properties and you hang on to those properties for long enough, you will do very well out of the transactions. 30 years from now, when your properties have tripled in value, You will not be thinking about what the interest rate was when you purchased the property, or whether or not the economy was in decline. Taxation can be a tricky topic to comprehend and get your head around, but don't let this turn you away from the basic strategy of investing in property. The strategy is sound, has been implemented by hundreds of thousands of people over many generations throughout the world. If you end up selling an investment property and making a profit, you will have to pay tax on the profit, and that's not a bad problem to have. This is where you need the services of a clever accountant to minimize your tax payment obligations. Never try to avoid making a profit for fear of having to pay some tax. This is just the cost of doing business, and not something to be fearful of. Do not resent the fact that you have to pay your share of taxes. Someone has to pay for all of the benefits of living in a developed society. Instead, feel satisfied in the knowledge that you are contributing to a better standard of living for your family and your community. Always seek advice from an accountant to ensure that you are legally minimizing your taxation payment obligations. And I must emphasize the term tax minimization, not tax avoidance. Be happy and satisfied that you have made profit, and that when you pay taxes, you are contributing to and supporting the general management of society. The money that the government raises through your taxes is what pays for the police, emergency services, schools, hospitals, roads, and infrastructure, etc. Try not to focus on the rental income that you will receive from your investment properties too much, as this is just the cream on top of the pie. The real money is made in the capital growth. This is where you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars profit without doing anything except holding onto a good quality income producing asset. And you will want to accumulate as many of these income producing assets as you can, as soon as you can. Time is the only commodity that you cannot buy, create, or replace. So be sure to use this time to your advantage and buy your properties whilst you're still young and take full advantage of the benefit of compounding growth. Einstein described compounding growth as the eighth wonder of the world. So take advantage of this knowledge and put it to work. The beauty of building up a portfolio of investment properties is that you can achieve this while working at any type of job. You can save the required deposit whilst working as a tradesman or packing shelves at the local supermarket. It doesn't matter. When you apply for a loan to buy your first property, your lending institution will only be concerned with a handful of things, the least of which being your academic achievements at high school. What the bank will be looking for is stability and savings. The bank will just want to see that you have saved the deposit, have had stable employment for the preceding 2 to 3 years, and that you are not continuously changing addresses in the period leading up to applying for your first loan. The bank does not care where your money comes from. They do not care if you earn your money sweeping the streets, emptying garbage tins, or working in the mines. All they care about is that you have saved the deposit and that you have stable employment, and if necessary, that you have sufficient equity in your property. Over the long term, house prices have historically always increased in value approximately 7 to 10% per annum, which in itself is an average return, which can be easily matched by a half-decent shares portfolio or superannuation portfolio. The benefit of property, though, is the power of leverage, because the banks will generally lend you 80% of the purchase price of the property. You can purchase a lot larger asset with a small 20% or less deposit. Once you do the maths, you will see that over the long run, investing in your money in real estate will give you a greater return on your investment due to the power of leverage, as opposed to an alternate investment vehicle like stocks. All property markets fluctuate, and this is a perfectly normal part of the continuous upward trending cycle. Do not be deterred by the media reports about doom and gloom in the real estate markets. So long as you hold on to your investments for the long run and do not panic and sell during a temporary downturn, you will enjoy enormous growth. As you build up your property portfolio, I would recommend employing the services of a good quality property manager to look after all of the issues of running an investment property for you. Most successful property portfolio owners use this system, as you do not want to be getting calls at 3 a.m. about the broken hot water system or leaking roof. All of the issues and problems that come with owning investment properties can be managed by a good property manager. They are paid a small percentage of your rental income for their services each week and are well worth the money. It's just the cost of doing business and one of the expenses that you'll need to incur as you manage your property. Try not to focus on the expenses, but instead focus on the capital growth that is happening while you are sleeping, which is what is making you rich. There are always going to be problems that you will encounter with any business. This is absolutely normal and just part of the process. Most people do not want to be bothered by these problems, so they employ the services of a good property manager and they sleep well at night. Different investment strategies have different taxation implications, so I would advise seeing your accountant or meeting with a financial advisor to discuss which options are best for you. But as a general rule, in Australia, once you have lived in a prime place of residence for more than 12 months, you can sell it without being required to pay capital gains tax on the profits. If, on the other hand, you purchase an investment property with the intention of selling the property and making a profit, then the profits from the sale would be added to your taxable income. You would possibly have a tax bill to pay at the end of the financial year, depending on how your accountant has structured your finances. There are some additional fees that you should budget for when purchasing your properties, like stamp duty, legal fees, building and pest reports, etc. So make sure you have a detailed discussion with your finance broker or accountant or financial strategist before proceeding, so you fully understand everything that is involved in the purchasing process, because it can be quite involved. Do not let these fees dissuade you from proceeding down this important pathway, as they are just part of the cost of doing business and are minimal in comparison to the amount of profits that you will make over the long run. Where and how you earn your money is of little importance when it comes to building a large income-producing quality property portfolio. As long as you can maintain and manage the mortgages on each of the properties, which, if they are managed well, should not be a problem, as the rental income that you receive over the years will keep increasing as they have always done. The value of each property will increase each decade, so your equity in the property will also increase. Once it has increased enough, you can draw down some of that equity and use it for a deposit for another property. Each property becomes easier over time, so try not to be too concerned about who you work for or what type of employment you have. So long as you're investing some of your savings into building a property portfolio, the banks do not care how you earn your money. They just want to see that you are a saver and that you are stable with solid employment. Do not be concerned with the interest rates of the day, whether inflation is on the rise or whether the economy is stalling or booming, regardless of things like pandemics or falling house prices. All of this will fail into significance when you realize the capital growth that you will receive over the decades. As Warren Buffett famously stated, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. So if the media are making things sound like the world is coming to an end, this is always a great buying opportunity. This is when the smart money comes in and buys up everything at a discount. It's not timing the market, but rather time in the market that is important. So do not spend too much energy on trying to pick the bottom of the housing cycles. This is a challenging exercise and best left to the more experienced investor. When it comes to property, the easiest policy is to just accumulate as much as you can as soon as you can. It's that simple. In 30 years' time, your properties should have at least tripled in value, and the price that you paid for the property will seem like a bargain. If you want confirmation, ask a 60-year-old how much they paid for their home. It will seem to be unbelievably cheap. But in reality, when they purchased their home, their wages would have been tiny in comparison to what people are being paid today. So it's all relative. There is always good quality, affordable housing to purchase somewhere in Australia, particularly in the rural towns, where you can still get a good return on your investment and benefit from the capital growth over the long run. You just need to do your research or employ the services of a good buyer's agent to find the properties for you. The most important thing is to get started and stop procrastinating. The longer you wait, the less wealth you'll have in your retirement, and the longer it will take you to achieve financial freedom and independence. In most states in Australia, government grants are available to assist you to purchase your first home, but it must be your prime place of residence, not an investment property. The amounts vary from $5,000 to $30,000. During COVID, the grants even went considerably higher, as the governments are always implementing policies to stimulate the building industry, particularly when it is in decline. The building industry heavily affects the general economy of a country, so it is in the best interest of the government of the day to keep it chugging along at a nice, healthy pace. Some of these grants come under names like the First Homeowner Grant or the Home Builder Grant. Most people take advantage of these grants, but bear in mind that they are not designed for property investors, only for first home buyers. Regardless of how you get your news content, be mindful that it is engineered to keep you watching, to satisfy the algorithms, to ensure that you stay watching. It is purposefully full of drama, negativity, and violence, and is not at all good for your peace of mind or emotional well-being. Media companies make their money through advertising, so the more people they have viewing their content, the more they can charge for the advertising, which is a large portion of their revenue. Whether it is one of the many social media platforms, or the radio, or the local television news, it will always be full of negativity to hook you in and keep you watching. Unfortunately, humans tend to be drawn to accidents, crime, acts of violence, and general negativity. The media organizations know this, and they will feed you 90% negative content and then a soft, fluffy story at the end to leave you feeling good. So please be mindful of what you are consuming, as it has definite effects on your psychology. There are some people that may criticize you for trying to create wealth for yourself and secure financial independence. In your defense, a plausible explanation could be as follows. If in your lifetime you do what most people do, which is to buy one property, pay it off over 25 years, and then retire broke, relying on your superannuation and a government pension to support you for the next 30 years, with just one asset and very little cash flow. In that scenario, you can only afford to look after yourself. And how many children do you sponsor in third world countries? How much do you give to charities? That lifestyle choice is, in my opinion, selfish and self-centered. If, on the other hand, you develop a large, sustainable income stream, you can be in a position to sponsor dozens of children and give to multiple charities. Having wealth puts you in a position where you can help many people and change your community for the better. Your circle of influence is very important in your life, so be wary of who you associate with. The average person's level of intelligence and awareness can be determined by the top 5 people they most commonly associate with. Try to surround yourself with intelligent, like-minded individuals who will support and encourage you on your journey. I would suggest distancing yourself from negative, lazy, uneducated, unmotivated, unsupportive individuals. And as your level of knowledge increases, you will increasingly find their conversations are usually focused on gossip and irrelevant events. I hope that this video has inspired you to embrace the power of learning and apply the principles we teach to your life. I encourage you to share this information with others so that we may improve the lives and mindsets of the millions of teenagers who often struggle with the transition from teenager to adult. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when new videos are created. It is my recommendation before any student leaves school that they read the following 2 books. One, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and the second, The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, or listen to the audiobooks on YouTube free of charge. Okay, well, that's about it for now. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.